to the Your Next Move podcast with Kimberly Brown. Today, we have a career questions episode. So I'm going to answer questions that I've gotten from you on Instagram, LinkedIn, all over the place. So let's get started.
First question, how can I expand my community?
All right. You know, I love talking all about relationships. So when I think about expanding your community, I want you to figure out what types of relationships do you need? In a previous episode, I talked about how you need coaches, mentors, sponsors, and peers. So when you look at your network, where do you feel depleted? Where do you feel like there aren't enough relationships? Then proactively start to identify people who fit into those buckets. Now, next question. You said, how can you expand your community? So you may not know where those people are. So first, I want you to look inside your current company. Who is there? If you happen to not be working right now or you've exhausted options at your current company, think about your past roles. Who fits into these buckets for you? If you don't see anyone there, I want you to look into your community. What volunteer organizations are you a part of? Sororities and fraternities, church organizations, professional associations, any place. And if not that, I want you to reach out to some of your peers, someone who you work with, even friends, and ask, is there anyone in their network that they feel you should meet with to help you meet your career goals? There are so many different options to look at when looking to expand your community. So I encourage you to try a little bit here. There's not one resource that's going to do it all. So see what works best for you based upon the relationships that you need.
Thank you, Kimberly. Next question, is further education needed to transfer into a new industry? Because I'm thinking of getting a certificate.
So this may be an unpopular opinion. I do not believe in getting any further education unless it will directly help you get a job. And I mean, you know, beyond a shadow of a fact, every job description you looked at says you need this certificate, or every job description says you need to get that master's degree. Education is expensive. So I believe that if you're going to make that investment, it has to pay back tenfold. So do your research first and make sure that it's needed, because we forget about transferable skills. Many times you don't necessarily need to get a certificate or get a master's degree or get whatever it is if you can directly take your experience and tell the story about how it relates to whatever industry you'd like to move into. So no, I don't necessarily think education is the answer unless you know it will help you, directly help you. It is a barrier for you to get that job. The story I always share is that early on in my career in higher education institutions, many of them, not all, it's expected that you will get a higher level degree. So after you get your bachelor's, in order to get promoted, they're looking for you to get your master's degree. I knew I would not get promoted without having a master's degree. So what did I do? I got a master's degree. But if I was able to get promoted and continue to move, I probably wouldn't have gotten it, or at least not that soon, unless I really just wanted it. But because I knew that would prohibit me from a promotion, I went back to get it. Also, if you're moving into, let's say, a tech industry, many times you may need a certificate to bring up your skills. Like, you can't make that jump unless you learn how to code in a specific language. That's another example of needing that skill. Or if you want to be a project manager and they're requiring a PMP certification, then yes, you need to go and get that certificate. So look at some of those examples and see, do they apply to you inside and outside of the industries I mentioned? And if so, it may be time for you to get a certificate, but if not, use your transferable skills and work on your storytelling.
I need a mentor badly. How do I really find one?
Okay, so mentors, so we can talk about mentors very briefly. So when we think about that, I define a mentor as that person who's been there, done that. So they've directly been in your shoes and most likely are in the next logical step for you. So for me, it's literally identifying those folks who've been in your role and are in the role you'd like to be in. So look across your organization. If you're uncomfortable looking at your current job, then I'd look at other peer organizations, because you really want them to be able to relate to where you are. You don't want a mentor who is so senior that they can't remember where you are, don't remember that move that they made that would really help you. And one of my favorite things to do is to reach out to your network and ask, again, is there anyone who you feel like could mentor you? And let me back up one more second. So The thing about mentorship is that everyone is looking, not everyone, but most folks are looking to have that dedicated mentor. They're looking for that person who is they can reach out to. They can text them, they can call them, reach out all the time. But that's not actually what you need. And sometimes you don't actually even need to call it a mentor. A mentor is someone who's providing you with the information needed for you to make that next move based upon their direct experience. You don't necessarily need access to them every week, every month, whatever it is. So you may have a mentor relationship, but you may not even know it because of the content of your conversations. So think about your current network. Maybe your boss is really great. Maybe your skip leader is really great. Maybe someone across the organization is someone you talk to on a quarterly basis. Those people are also mentors, even though you haven't asked them, will you be my mentor? I know for me, when I look at different people across different businesses, I have mentors who I learn from who I don't even necessarily talk to or I see extremely infrequently. So you said you need a mentor badly. Back to the question, where can you find them? Identify those folks inside your network who already fit that title or fit exactly where you were. If you don't have any folks there, look at past jobs or other industries or companies that are similar. And also think about people who you have loose connections with outside of that and do some research, and don't be afraid to reach out and start to cultivate a relationship. All it takes is one coffee chat, one email asking for 20 to 30 minutes of someone's time to introduce yourself and see if it's a great fit for you to develop the relationship further. Don't feel like you have to ask the question, will you be my mentor?
Thank you, Kimberly. What skills do you need to transition from higher education to corporate?
This is a really great question because I transfer from higher education to corporate, and a lot of folks find that it's a big jump. I personally, maybe I'm a little biased, I don't think it's that big of a jump. It's really about storytelling. So I always joke and say that when you're in higher ed, a nonprofit, whatever it is, going to corporate America, all the corporate folks are like, don't y'all just bake cookies every day? Like celebrate birthdays and sign cards and stuff? Like they think that you don't have the grit to work in corporate America. I think personally, from my experience, you have a lot of grit, even more grit sometimes because you have smaller budgets, tighter timelines, smaller teams, and you're still truly impacting the industry, impacting students' lives every single day. For me, it was that transferable skills. It was directly identifying what was I doing that correlated to the role in corporate America and being able to tell that story. One of my pet peeves is when candidates say, just give me a chance, like I'll be able to do it. If you just give me the opportunity, I'll show you that I'm a right fit. No one wants to give someone an opportunity to see if they're the right fit. Every hire, whether in higher education or in corporate, is an intentional decision. No one wants to see and then it doesn't pan out. So look at your resume. Look at the role you'd like to apply to or have, and what experiences do you have that directly correlate to that job, and learn to cultivate stories. So interviewing tactics are one of my favorite things to talk about, and you've probably heard about the STAR or the PAR method. So the STAR method is situation, task, action, result. Whenever anyone asks you a behavioral question, that's like, tell me about a time when, can you explain the last time you? Situation questions, you go through the STAR method. So situation, where were you? Task, what were you tasked with? Action, what were your distinct actions that you took? And result, what is the result of the work that you were doing? Use this method and directly relate it to the job that you're applying for. Make them see clear as day that your experience has prepared you for that role in corporate America. And I also think this is where networking connections can come into play. If you know you're looking to transfer into corporate America, see if you can start building some relationships so you can get some referrals and some buy-in about your candidacy to match your transferable skills.
Not messing. Okay, next question. How can I be more of a thought leader in the workspace?
Ooh, thought leadership. So many times when you're getting into more or higher level roles in the workplace, people start looking for you to have an opinion about something. They want to understand, what are your thoughts about this? Is this in your zone of genius? How do you approach certain situations? And not just the approach in terms of how do you take actions to achieve a goal, but what are your thoughts on how the organization should be thinking about something? What is the internal dialogue you have before you start to execute? That's what we mean by thought leadership. When you think about leaders in the organization that talk about their vision, generally they're not talking about their vision for the next 3 months. They're talking about their 3-year, 5-year, 10-year vision for the company and the strategic plan. So if someone is asking you about thought leadership, it's important that you begin to cultivate an opinion about your work. And not just an opinion like, I like this, I don't like this, this works, this doesn't, but informing yourself with industry trends, knowing what's going on, and really begin to start articulating these things, especially as you're moving into more senior roles. This can be a little tricky because it also takes having a level of influence, having a level of prestige in your job, but it's not something that's impossible. It's literally a switch of essentially moving from just an employee to moving to being a leader.
Thanks for answering all of my questions.
You're very welcome. And with this episode, we are all set with our career questions, but we will be back. If you have questions for me, please go ahead and email podcast@manifestyourself.com, and you may see your questions answered on a future episode. Until then, may your next move be your very best move. Thank you so much for tuning in this week to the Your Next Move podcast. Don't forget to share this episode with a colleague or friend so we can all level up together. If you enjoyed today's episode, please write a review wherever you listen to podcasts. And lastly, if you're looking to join a community of thriving professionals, I invite you to join the Next Move Best Move community, my private community of professionals that includes the Manifest Yourself signature leadership development courses, monthly lunch and learns, and more. For more information, please go to kimberlybeonline.com/community. Until next week, remember to make your next move your very best move.